George's dunk following the game. The league extended an invitation to participate in the slam dunk contest All-Star Weekend. George declined. Sochi Winter Olympic Games 18 days away. Flashback to 1988. Jamaica qualifies for the bobsled, prompting the 1993 movie.
Feel the rhythm. Feel the ride. Get on up. It's bobsled time.
Do I hear Cool Runnings too? Jamaica's qualified for this year's two-man bobsled, but they're $80,000 short.
LeBron James and the Heat once again are one of the teams that have their eyes set squarely on a three-peat, while the Lakers continue to roll on without Kobe Bryant.
This is the Sports Psychology Hour with Dr. Andrew Jacobs on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
And what I've done is help athletes be the best they can be. We work on giving you that winning edge, that mental edge that will help you realize your potential.
Dr. Jacobs has been in practice for over 30 years as a sports psychologist.
I'm a basketball referee. This mother out of nowhere says, "Trip him!"
Right now is your chance to call Dr. Jacobs for free help with any sports-related problem.
The coach was not afraid, the school was not afraid to back up the rules.
And this show is about you. It's about having fun, working hard, building self-confidence, having the right attitude, being a good teammate, being a good parent, and being a good coach.
Now, here's the sports psychologist, Dr. Andrew Jacobs.
Good morning, Kansas City. I am sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs, and welcome to our show here in Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm here every Sunday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. talking with you about the mental side of sports, and we delve into issues like confidence and sportsmanship and attitude, mental preparation, how to focus under pressure. This show is about your listeners, and we take your calls and delve into these topics each and every Sunday morning. And we're also live on 810WHBTV.com, so you can watch us online any time of the day. Just tune in to 810WHBTV.com and listen to the show and watch the show. And we're going to have a fun show today because joining me in studio live this morning is Willie Aikens, the former Royals great, who's going to talk about his story. He's written a book. It's called Safe at Home. And for those of you who are watching, it's a great book. Willie's going to give you information about how to get this book. I've been reading it, and it's been hard to put it down. I read almost 100 pages of it last night. I just got it a couple days ago. And he tells us his story about his life. And we're going to talk to Willie here in a moment. Before we get going, I want to mention my sponsor, which is bestfiletmignon.com. If you're in the market for steaks and you like to eat, you need to get a hold of bestfiletmignon.com. You can give them a call at 800-497-7832. It's the best steaks you'll ever have. USDA prime.
When you're thinking about New Orleans,
Angus cattle.
why not let jazz good for you?
Laissez bon ton rouler. Hey folks, Papa Vic here to talk about what's new. Your favorite restaurant, Jazz, a Louisiana kitchen. The economy got you down. You don't
FedEx.
You don't need a fat wall to come to Jazz, I guarantee. Don't forget, on air Tuesdays where the best dish in KC is half price. Looking for live entertainment? Nobody in town plays more live music than Jazz. Check out our website, jazzkitchen.com, for daily band listings. Both locations, the original on 39th and State Line, and at the Legends in Village West. Jazz, where there's always a party every night.
Order some steaks because we're going to be grilling steaks here pretty soon outside. Now, Willie, we met a few years ago when I worked with the Royals, and we would sit and watch games and talk during the games here, and it was a pleasure to get to know you. You are a very, very interesting man to talk to, and having known a little bit about your history and your past, it was really exciting for me to just sit down and talk to you and meet you. But you have a story that I find extremely intriguing. I've been in the sports psychology field now for 33 years. I've worked with every level of athlete. We've talked about this. I've worked with the Royals twice. I've worked with the Olympic team, with all kinds of professional athletes. And the thing I always like when I get to know people is find out about their story and how they end up getting where they are now. And you, my friend, have been through a hell of a lot, and you've survived it. And you've come out the other side. And so many people don't make it. And what I'd like to talk with you about today is just how you got there, about your story, about how you made it to this point. And because you could have gone down the wrong path and stayed there and never come out of it. You were in that black hole, and you could have stayed there. But you know, I always tell people, there's a ladder, there's a rope right in front of you, but you don't see it. You were lucky enough to find that and climb out. And now you're working with the Royals. I'll let you share with everyone what you do. But I think your story is tremendously intriguing, and it's a great lesson for people. Because let's face it, baseball players have issues. They've always had issues. We can go back to Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle was a blazing alcoholic. Everybody knows that. But at the time, nobody wanted to deal with it because he's hitting home runs and playing great baseball. But it destroyed him. Okay? We've talked about how drugs basically ruined your career. You had this incredible talent and ability. 2 words, I don't know what they mean, talent and ability. But you obviously could hit the baseball. And you obviously could play. But as you've shared very openly in your book, and we've talked about, cocaine ruined your career. And I don't think you realized it at the time. Now you do. And I think it's something that's probably helping you as you work with young athletes, with the Royals, with their minor leaguers, and helping them with their hitting and just about life. So, first of all, thank you for getting up so early and being here. You're
thanks for having me, brother.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm honored that you're here. Let's start off, but why don't you tell everybody just what you're doing right now with your life with the Royals? And I know your book is something that you're very proud of.
Well, I work for the Royals as a hitting instructor. As you mentioned, you said I was a pretty good hitter, and that was basically why I was a Major League Baseball player, because I could hit. At one time in baseball, I was known as the slowest runner, so I couldn't run. My feeling was okay, but I could hit.
So you and Billy Butler could have some conversations about that.
There you go. Exactly. And a lot of times when people criticize Billy about how many double plays he hit into, I tell them, I was the same type of player. I hit into a lot of double plays, and if I hit the ball well on the infield, right at somebody, that's what it was.
But what can you do about that? You hit it.
Nothing. I mean, the basic fundamentals of the game is you go up to the plate and you try to hit the ball hard.
I mean, you don't know where it's going to go when you hit it.
Exactly.
Sometimes you can try and angle it or direct it. I know having worked with the Royals and spent a lot of time with Billy, I know that frustrated him, and I'm sure it does to this day. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but people criticize him because he hits in a lot of double plays. Well, heck, he hits the ball. You hit the ball. I mean, you can't help how fast you are.
And my homeboy, Jim Rice, who played for the Boston Red Sox, he's in the Hall of Fame right now. He was the type of hitter also. I mean, he might be in history, has more double plays than anybody. But this guy, he averaged 30 or 40 home runs a year, drove in over 100, and he's in the Hall of Fame. It's just a part of baseball, period.
Right, and you had to deal with that. You had to work on that. I know, reading your book, how hard you worked on your fielding and tried to get better. You spent a lot of time with Bobby Knopp helped you with the Angels. Jim Fry helped you with the Royals. Jimmy Williams, a lot of people who've been around baseball a long time. You talk about them extensively in the book, how they helped you. And obviously there was a big piece of you that realized, hey, I've got to work at this. I've got to get better. I've got to really improve myself. And you spent a lot of time working out, staying in shape. Your weight was an issue, obviously. You had to get rid of a lot of pounds, and you kept it off and worked hard. And that helped elevate you and got you to the point where you played with the Angels, then ultimately the Royals. And I remember the 80 World Series, as many people in this community do very well, and how you played. But what people didn't know at the time was what you were doing off the field and the things that ended up leading to your demise. And, as I've gone through your book, one of the things that bothers me for you is how the drugs, the cocaine, ended up becoming such a big part of your life that it ended up derailing you. And of course, you ended up in jail for a while down in Texas, and then your career was pretty much done after that. And it's a shame to see something like that happen, which, as someone who's a sports psychologist who works with athletes all the time, reading that, it bothered me for you because you had so many great things going on, and you had a vision. There's so many references in your book to people calling you Reggie, after Reggie Jackson.
Exactly. I copied Reggie.
Yeah, you did.
Especially after I hit the ball out of the ballpark. I used to watch him, and he used to hit the ball and stand there and look at their home runs. And that was something I copied off of Reggie Jackson.
Let me ask this question then. Because obviously I never played Major League Baseball, nor could I probably hit the ball past the infield. But what's that feeling like when you hit the ball out of a park, Willie? What was that feeling like watching that ball clear the fence?
Well, you know, baseball is a game of habits, and that was one thing that I was capable of doing. So it just became a part of my life. And when I hit the ball, and I hit the ball well, I knew when it was a home run or not. So that's why I was able to stand there and admire it.
And it's a pretty neat feeling, isn't it?
Especially when you do it in the World Series. You know, I was the first player to have multiple homer games in the World Series. I hit 2 in Game 1, my birthday, and 2 in Game 4. And that was outstanding. I mean, it was a thrill to be able to do that. And, you know, I played almost 7 years in the major leagues, but my whole baseball career basically is built on the World Series.
I'm sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs. This is the Sports Psychology Hour here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And joining me this morning live in studio is Willie Aikens, a former Royals great. And we're going to talk about Willie's life, about the new book he's written called Safe at Home. And we're going to give you an opportunity to find out how to get this book. Willie sells them, and it's a tremendous book. If you have any interest in the Royals and any interest in finding out about Willie's life, you can get this book. And if you're watching on TV, you can see the book right here in front of me. I'm holding it up for the camera. And why'd you write this book? Why'd you do this? You didn't have to tell everybody about your life, and it's very, very revealing.
Yeah. While I was incarcerated, and I did 14 years in prison, people used to come to me all the time and say, Willie, why don't you write a book? So that's where it started at. I started taking notes while I was in prison. And while I was incarcerated also, Gregory Jordan, who's my co-writer, I ran in contact with him through my ex-baseball agent, Ron Shapiro. And basically when I got out in 2008, I had a whole lot of notes. I was already in contact with Greg, and we put it together. And the only thing we had to do was find a publisher that was willing to publish the book. One reason I wrote the book is because I felt like what I had gone through, and at the point where I was at then, I had a whole lot of years clean and sober, and I knew that drugs and alcohol was a big part of society as a whole, not only in sports, but in general. And I feel like that if I wrote this book with Gregory, that it could help inspire people. It could give people hope that were struggling with drugs and alcohol. And not only that, I had developed a spiritual life while I was in prison too. And I wanted people to have a spiritual life.
Have you had some feedback from people about the book?
A lot.
About that message specifically?
I have. And one thing I do is I just drive around to businesses and stuff and just walk inside and ask people if they would like to get an autographed copy of my book. And it's pretty amazing how many people I run into that have kids or have nieces or nephews that are incarcerated or that are struggling with drugs and alcohol. And I have gotten feedback through emails from these people, you know, thanking me and saying that, hey, Willie, you just don't know how important it was today. I mean, divinity, that I just come into these people's lives all of a sudden and talk to them, witness to them, and share my testimony with them. And then all of a sudden they just say, Willie, you know what? I got somebody in my family right now that is going through the same thing that you went through. And this is incredible.
Well, statistics say that if we look at families, there's always going to be somebody in somebody's family that's got some issues. And your book is a message. It's a message about, I think, hope. It's a message about reality and looking in the mirror. And as I'm reading this, one of the things that really strikes me, Willie, you obviously have had a stuttering problem. You've had one your whole life.
I have.
Okay. You still stutter.
Yeah.
Okay. How have you beaten that? How have you gotten through that? Because that's an issue. I know Bo Jackson stuttered when I spent a lot of time with the Royals with Bo. He stuttered, you know, and a lot of people stutter. And you've got to have a confidence level to deal with that. You had to get interviewed all the time.
Yeah.
And you would stutter. So how did you beat that? Because to me, that's a lot about confidence. Because that's what I think this book is all about, confidence, Willie. It's about your confidence. So let's start with that, with the stuttering. How have you overcome that and dealt with that in your life?
I think it was during those 14 years while I was incarcerated, Andy. I used to get up in church and give my testimony. You know, I go around today and I do speaking engagements. And when I got out of prison in 2008, I did an article in the Kansas City Star. And one of the things I said was that I wanted to, go around and do speaking engagements and speak to people. And one of the comments that came back from somebody reading my story was this. He said, how does Willie Aikens think he's going to go around and speak to people when I remember him as a member of the Kansas City Royals, and he couldn't even do an interview on TV? And the guy was right. I couldn't. And it was something that haunted me. I was in a spelling bee in the 4th grade, and they asked me to spell until, U-N-T-I-L. And I was afraid that I couldn't say the word, that I forgot how to spell the word. And that was something that haunted me for a long time. And I just think it was during that period while I was incarcerated of 14 years that I just gained the confidence that this was something that I had to deal with, just like I had to deal with my drugs and alcohol while I was incarcerated. I had to deal with not having a spiritual life. So my stuttering problem was a part of me too, and I had to deal with that, and I was able to, get to the point where I am now. I feel confident that I'm able to carry on a decent conversation and don't have to worry about stuttering.
So you learned to accept it and not be scared of it, is what I'm hearing you say.
It's part of me.
It's part of who you are.
Exactly.
So it's not something that you're holding against you. It's just part of who you are, and you've accepted it. And we've talked many, many times. You don't stutter that much. You stutter once in a while, but it's not like it bothers you. You just keep talking. Okay, but back when you were in that spelling bee, spelling the word until, you can probably remember that like it was yesterday right now.
Oh, man. I can, it's just embedded in my brain for whatever reason it is, because it was a very embarrassing moment for me at that time, because I knew how to spell the word. I mean, it was very simple, and I flunked out of the spelling bee because I forgot how to spell it because I was afraid I couldn't say it.
So you as you're talking, you hit the word fear, and that's what we're going to talk about when we come back from this commercial break. I'm going to talk about fear, Willie, because that's a big part of what I think you've overcome. I'm sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs. Joining me this morning live in studio is former Royals great Willie Aikens. We're talking about his life and his book that he's written called Safe at Home. And we're going to talk about how you can get the book here in a few moments when we come back. And I'd like to encourage you to give us a call. If you have a question for Willie about his life, about how he's overcome so many things, and has really, I think he's got a message to share. It's a great opportunity for you to call up and talk to a Royals great player, as well as myself. I'm sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs. Our number here is 913-381-810. 913-381-810. Give us a call. We're on the leader in sports, Sports Radio 10 WHB. Hear that? That's the sound of steaks on a grill. But this isn't just any steak. It's the most delicious filet mignon you'll ever put on your grill. Not from the supermarket, not even from the butcher. It's from bestfiletmignon.com. You see, the folks at Best Filet Mignon searched all over the United States for small family farms raising only the finest Angus beef from the highest quality cattle. The result, the most tender, succulent, flavorful steak you'll ever taste. That's why they call themselves Best Filet Mignon. Go to bestfiletmignon.com and order now. Choose between USDA Prime, Choice, or Select. Your steak is cut, vacuum sealed, and shipped fresh. Not frozen like Omaha steaks. They even throw in the free shipping. Then grill them up, and well, you'll know what to do after that. Just promise you won't use any steak sauce, and trust me, for the best steak you'll ever taste, guaranteed, go to bestfiletmignon.com. That's bestfiletmignon.com, and put in the coupon code Jacobs.
When you're thinking about New Orleans, why not let jazz cook for you?
Laissez bon temps rouler. Hey folks, Papa Vic here to talk about what's new at your favorite restaurant, Jazz, a Louisiana Kitchen. The economy got you down? You don't need a fat wall to come to Jazz, I guarantee. Don't forget, All-American Tuesdays, where the best dish in KC is half price. Looking for live entertainment? Nobody in town plays more live music than Jazz. Check out our website, jazzkitchen.com, for daily band listings. Both locations, the original on 39th and State Line, and at the Legends in Village West. Jazz, where there's always a party every night.
Some of the best teams in the world are in Kansas City. The Chiefs, the Royals, Sporting, and the Border Patrol.
The Border Patrol? St. John and Bucati? Those two guys couldn't hold on.
Easy there, fellas. We may not be the two godfathers of Kansas City sports like you guys are,
but we do know how to have a good time talking sports.
And having a good time like Gary Lezak has a good time.
Make the Border Patrol a part of your morning, just like I do.
Watch Sports Radio 810's Border Patrol, weekday mornings from 7 to 8 on 38 The Spot.
For audio, video, and broadcast solutions, it's Professional Video Supply. PVS is a leading supplier and integrator of pro video and audio gear for the Midwest. For the boardroom, worship, production houses, medical facilities, TV stations, and sports networks, PVS has it. Canon, Sony, Yamaha, Sharp, and hundreds of others. From a single camera or touchscreen display to an entire TV studio, remember Professional Video Supply, the official video source for 810 WHB TV at pvskc.com. pvskc.com.
Good morning, everybody. I am sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs. Welcome to our show here in Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm here every Sunday from 7 to 8 a.m., and we talk with you about the mental side of sports. And want to remind you, if you are into grilling, if you're into steaks, and it's going to be warm outside before you know it, get a hold of bestfiletmignon.com, our sponsor. Their number is 800-497-7832. If you want to grill some steaks, the best steaks you'll ever have, they're overnighted to you. They're never frozen. There's a 100% guarantee. If you don't like them, get your money back. 800-497-7832. Bestfiletmignon.com. And guarantee you the best steaks you'll ever have. Willie Aikens is with me this morning, the former Royals great. We're talking about his life and his book. He's written a book called Safe at Home. Willie, how can people get this book? If they want to get a hold of it, how can they get it?
I finally got a website, www.willieaikens24, my old number.com. willieaikens24.com. Facebook and Twitter. I'm on Facebook and Twitter also.
Right, and we're hooked up on Twitter. I'm also on Twitter now at DRJ Sports Psych. And, you know, you mentioned something. You sent me a Twitter message about a week or so ago, and I'm like, I need to give you a call. Then the next day I go to the gas station, and there you were. There you were.
Exactly.
That was bizarre.
Divinity.
Yeah, there's some. It's like I'm like Willie, Andy. Yeah, it was just like that. That was pretty funny. You sent me a message. I haven't seen you in a couple of years since I was with the Royals. You're like, where have you been? So
exactly.
It was great to catch up.
Exactly. It's good to see you, man.
You know, your story, as I mentioned, is a motivating story because you beat something. Okay, you beat an addiction to cocaine, and I believe you had an addiction to it. You're using it all the time. You share in your book how much you used it. Why do you think you got caught up in that? Why did you turn to that as an escape?
You know, once I was traded here to the Kansas City Royals, some of the players on the team was using drugs. And it just became a social part of my life, Andy. I mean, no different than going out to the bar after the game and having a drink. People become addicted to alcohol also. We met this guy in Overland Park, Kansas, and he was a baseball fan, and he would invite us to come over to his house. And we would just sit there after games, have drinks, talk, and snort cocaine. And cocaine, you know, is the more you do, you have to your body builds up a tolerance against the drug. So next time you have to do a little bit more to enjoy the drug. And basically, I like doing cocaine. I mean, I had fun when I was getting high and snorting cocaine.
Well, that's what I'm picking up by reading this book.
Yeah,
but
I enjoyed it.
It ruined your career. I mean, you ruined your career. You have to take responsibility for that. The drug didn't do it. You did it yourself. But where was the point where you started to realize, you know what? I'm screwing up. When did that start to hit you? Was it when you got arrested? Was that it? Or was it? Or do you think you really realized it before that, or did you not know?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't realize it while I was a Major League Baseball player, even though I had people talking to me. And even after I got caught in 1983, along with 3 of my teammates, the first thing I did was check inside of a rehab center, and I was there for like 2 months. But you know what? I went in that rehab center in denial, and I truly believe I came out of that rehab center in denial.
Because you still used afterwards.
I did, and I never believed that I was a drug addict. And I didn't think I had a problem with drugs.
And when did you realize it?
After my second time I got arrested and I was incarcerated, I started taking rehabilitation programs. And I had a sentence of 20 years and 8 months. And you know, I finally realized inside of the rehabilitation program that my life was unmanageable. And how did I get to a situation like I was in, man? And I started doing inventories of my life. And I finally got a chance to really know who Willie Aikens was and what Willie Aikens was doing.
And what'd you find out, Willie? What'd you find out about yourself?
I had 2 little girls that were like 5 and 6 when I went to prison. And I wasn't a father to my kids. And I just realized that, hey, drugs had took me away from being the person that I was when I wasn't on drugs. I made decisions when I was on drugs that I didn't do when I was clean and sober. And I knew I had to make a change in my life and turn it around.
You know, as I'm listening to you talk, and as we've mentioned, you and I've met before many times and talked. I as a sports psychologist, when I work with athletes, I always listen to the stories and the message that they're sharing. And, you know, this all comes back to me once again, about confidence. I mean, you got picked on as a kid. You were slow and you were fat. Okay, you had a stuttering problem. People picked on you because that's what kids do. They're cruel.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you got good at something. You got good at something where all of a sudden everybody's starting to notice you. Everybody wants to be part of your life. Men, women, fans, people all over the place. Everybody wants to be, hey, that's Willie Aikens, man. Let's go meet him. Let's talk to him. Okay. And I think the confidence issue to me was a big piece of this, because now all of a sudden you went from this slow, fat kid with a stuttering problem to a guy everybody wants to be around. And how did that change you? How do you think that changed you? And then getting into the drugs I think was an escape. Was an escape for you to maybe get away from some of that. How did that change you?
Well, you know, I grew up with a stepfather that was an alcoholic. My mom was a street lady. And in an early age, I saw the devastating effects that what drugs can do to a person. But something later on in my life allowed me to think that I could still follow in the footsteps of them. I really didn't even think about it. It just became a part of my life. You know, I don't know. I never really had confidence that I could speak well. Sports is one thing that carried me through my young teenager age while I was in high school.
Well, you didn't have to speak when you were playing baseball.
I didn't. And I was good at football, basketball, and baseball. I went to college on a football
scholarship at South Carolina State, right?
A lot of people don't know that.
But you used that as a means to play baseball.
I did. And the coaches allowed me to play baseball. And my first year in college, my college dropped the baseball team. And I was at a place playing for a scout. And that's why I became a professional baseball player. But I don't know if it was fear or I didn't have confidence. And I truly don't believe that I started using drugs because I don't know.
When I said escape, I mean, as I was reading the book, one of the things I picked up was that was something to go do, and it got your mind off of things. That's why I say escape, because then you didn't have to think about the pressure. I mean, there was a lot of pressure when you came here. People were talking about, well, this is the big piece. He's going to hit behind George in the lineup. He's going to protect George in the lineup. And you put a lot of pressure on yourself to do that.
Yeah.
You took a lot of pride in that. And then initially it wasn't working very well. Okay. And so I think maybe what I picked up was using cocaine, even though it was enjoyable to you, it was also an escape to get away from everything. Because that's what drugs and alcohol are. They're escapes. And there are a lot of things. Addictions are people. It could be sex, gambling, whatever. But I think it was an escape for you. I think in part because, now you're very straightforward about talking about what you're afraid of.
Well, Andy, if it was an escape, I don't know what I was trying to escape for.
Maybe the pressure.
Well, I had always performed well in baseball, the minor leagues. I was always an outstanding hitter. I always was a leader in either home runs, batting average, or RBIs.
But what happened when you came here?
I failed my first time with the California Angels in 1977. They called me up to the big leagues, and I was only up for like 3 months, but I didn't play. And that was the reason why I failed. But 1979, when I made the Angels, I hit 280, I had 21 home runs, and I had 79 RBIs in less than 400 at-bats. So my confidence was there that I could perform as a Major League Baseball player on the field. So if there was something that I was trying to escape for when I started using cocaine or started drinking, I don't know what it was.
When you came here, though, in the trade, you didn't start off very well, right?
I had just had knee surgery 4 months ago, and I was playing on artificial turf, and my knee was not 100%, and I struggled. The first half of 1980, I struggled.
And isn't that when you really started to get into it a lot heavier?
The fans booed me. They really, really booed me. But 1980 wasn't the first year, no.
It wasn't the first year, but it's when you started getting heavily into it.
I wasn't getting heavily into it. I just started using it once in a while. 1981 was a year because a player got traded to our team.
Vita Blue.
And I'm not going to name any names.
Well, it's in the book. So
it's in the book. But a player got traded to our team, and he was the person that introduced me and the other players to this guy in Overland Park. And that's when I started to use cocaine on a regular basis. But not 1980, I didn't use it a lot.
Well, I just my perception, like I said, just my perception. I was saying right or wrong, but I think it became an escape for you. It was sort of a way to just relax and get away from everything and not think about the pressure. Having worked with professional athletes for 33 years and been part of the Royals team 2 different times, I see the pressure and what it does. And I see how guys react to it. Some guys drink, some guys escape, some guys lie, some guys cheat. Everybody does different things. Not everybody, obviously.
Yeah.
Hal McRae was a mentor to you in a lot of ways. You talk about it in the book, how he tried to keep you focused and doing the right things.
He did.
Hal McRae, and I know Brian very well. We both know Brian very well. Great guy. I love Brian McRae. Never met his dad. But everything I picked up about Hal McRae was he was a competitor. He tried to do things the right way, tried to have people do things the right way. He had tremendous passion. He tried to help you because he knew things weren't going right.
He did.
But I think it just became something for you where you could get away from everything. And I think that's where a lot of that came from. And I think having grown up being picked on, having grown up, with the stuttering issue and everything else, I think for you, this is just a way to, I don't have to think about anything when I'm doing. I'm just having fun, relaxing. I don't have to think about it. And I think that's what it became for you. It was an escape. I'm sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs. Joining me live in studio this morning is Willie Aikens, the former Royals great. We're talking about his book. It's called Safe at Home, and you can get it at www.willieaikens24.com. That's his website. I'd encourage you to get it. If you want to read this book and learn about Willie's life and just you want to teach some kids some things, this book is great. I think it's a great lesson. I think you should go talk to every high school in town. I'd love to go talk with you at every high school in town, Willie, because I'm going to tell you something. There are kids at every school who this you can help. And I really believe that. You obviously know how to hit. You're working with the Royals minor leaguers with hitting. But I also know you're probably also talking to them about life. Because let's face it, just because you sign a pro contract doesn't mean you're going to be playing in the major leagues. You and I both know that. You made it up to the top.
I did.
And then you've also learned about what you did now that screwed you and hurt you with your career. Because if you hadn't gotten into the drugs, God knows what you would have ended up doing, and it probably would have been a lot. I can tell that. I'm sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs. Joining me live here in studio is Willie Aikens. If you'd like to give Willie a call and ask him a question, talk with us. We're live. Our phone number is 913-381-810. Live here in studio, 913-381-810. I am sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs, and we're in the leader in sports, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Sports Radio 810 WHB is Kansas City's home of the...
Hear that? That's the sound of steaks on a grill. But this isn't just any steak. It's the most delicious filet mignon you'll ever put on your grill. Not from the supermarket, not even from the butcher. It's from bestfiletmignon.com. You see, the folks at Best Filet Mignon searched all over the United States for small family farms raising only the finest Angus beef from the highest quality cattle. The result, the most tender, succulent, flavorful steak you'll ever taste. That's why they call themselves Best Filet Mignon. Go to bestfiletmignon.com and order now. Choose between USDA Prime, Choice, or Select. Your steak is cut, vacuum sealed, and shipped fresh, not frozen like Omaha steaks. They even throw in the free shipping. Then grill them up and, well, you'll know what to do after that. Just promise you won't use any steak sauce, and trust me, for the best steak you'll ever taste, guaranteed, go to bestfiletmignon.com. That's bestfiletmignon.com and put in the coupon code JACOBS.
Whatever you require for audio, video, and broadcast solutions, it's Professional Video Supply. PVS is a leading supplier and integrator of pro video and audio gear for the Midwest. For the boardroom, worship, production houses, medical facilities, TV stations, and sports networks, PVS has it. Canon, Sony, Yamaha, Sharp, and hundreds of others. From a single camera or touchscreen display to an entire TV studio, remember Professional Video Supply, the official video source for 810 WHB TV at pvskc.com. pvskc.com.
When you're thinking about New Orleans, why not let jazz cook for you?
Laissez les bon temps rouler. Hey folks, Papa Vic here to talk about what's new at your favorite restaurant, Jazz, a Louisiana Kitchen. The economy got you down? You don't need a fat wallet to come to Jazz, I guarantee. Don't forget, All American Tuesdays, where the best dish in KC is half price. Looking for live entertainment? Nobody in town plays more live music than Jazz. Check out our website, jazzkitchen.com, for daily band listings. Both locations, the original on 39th and State Line, and at the Legends in Village West. Jazz, where there's always a party every night.
Some of the best teams in the world are in Kansas City. The Chiefs, the Royals, Sporting, and the Border Patrol.
The Border Patrol? St. John and Bucati? Those two guys couldn't hold on.
Easy there, fellas.
We may not be the two godfathers of Kansas City sports like you guys are,
But we do know how to have a good time talking sports.
and having a good time like Gary Lezak has a good time.
Make the Border Patrol a part of your morning, just like I do.
Watch Sports Radio 810's Border Patrol, weekday mornings from 7 to 8 on 38 The Spot.
Hear that? That's the sound of steaks on a grill. But this isn't just any steak. It's the most delicious filet mignon you'll ever put on your grill. Not from the supermarket, not even from the butcher. It's from bestfiletmignon.com. You see, the folks at Best Filet Mignon searched all over the United States for small family farms raising only the finest Angus beef from the highest quality cattle. The result, the most tender, succulent, flavorful steak you'll ever taste. That's why they call themselves Best Filet Mignon. Go to bestfiletmignon.com and order now. Choose between USDA Prime, Choice, or Select. Your steak is cut, vacuum sealed, and shipped fresh, not frozen like Omaha steaks. They even throw in the free shipping. Then grill them up and, well, you'll know what to do after that. Just promise you won't use any steak sauce, and trust me, for the best steak you'll ever taste, guaranteed, go to bestfiletmignon.com. That's bestfiletmignon.com and put in the coupon code JACOBS. Good morning, everyone. I am sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs. Welcome to our show here in Sports Radio 810 WHB. We're live in our studios here in Overland Park, Kansas. And I want to remind you that my sponsor is bestfiletmignon.com. If you are in the market to get some steaks, check them out, bestfiletmignon.com. Their phone number is 800-497-7832, best steaks you'll ever have. They have USDA Prime, Choice, or Select. Never frozen. You'll get them overnight to you, FedEx to you, overnighted. If steaks aren't frozen, they're raised on family farms, never given hormones or antibiotics, and there's a 100% money-back guarantee. So I don't know how you can beat that deal. Great packaging. You can use them for gifts. It's 800-497-7832, bestfiletmignon.com, and type in the coupon code Jacobs and get some steaks. Joining me live this morning is Willie Aikens, a former Royals great, and he's written a book called Safe at Home. It's a great book. I'm about 2/3 of the way through it. Just got it a couple days ago from Willie, and you can order it at www.willieaikens24.com. And he has a message in here. We've been talking about his life. He's now working with the Royals, with their minor leaguers as a hitting coach, but also helping mentoring these players. And how did you end up getting back with the Royals doing this, Willie?
In 2008, when I got out of prison, I was at the halfway house, and I called up George Brett, and he asked me to go over to his son Miller School and speak to the kids about drugs and alcohol. And I did. He came by and picked me up, and I spoke to the kids for 45 minutes. And George wasn't impressed, and he said, "Nick," which is my nickname, "I think you need to be back in baseball." And he took me over to meet Dayton Moore, the general manager for the Kansas City Royals. And, I talked to Dayton. I told Dayton, I just got out of prison. He knew that. And that I was trying to get back in baseball. And Dayton said, "Willie, look, I can't make you any promises, but I'll keep you in mind." And a couple of things happened. I spoke to the players. 2 years later, the Kansas City Royals hired me. And, I've been with the Royals for 3 years now. The Glass family, front office, Dayton Moore, Scott Sharp, J.J. Piccoli. These guys care about players, their personal life. Of course, players need to go out on the baseball field and perform. But from what I've seen, they care about what a player do off the baseball field. And one thing that I do while I'm in spring training, extended spring training, I talk to these guys and I share my experience, what happened with me. As a professional baseball player, my baseball career was cut short because of the choices that I made off the baseball field. And I truly believe that, doing what I'm doing with the Kansas City Royals as a mentor has helped some of these guys. I've always said that, hey, if it would have been somebody that would have came along while I was a player in the major leagues and had did the same thing that I'm doing right now for the Kansas City Royals, that could have helped change my life.
Oh, there's no question about that. I truly believe that. And you and I met when I was the Royal psychologist. We met during that period, and we got to know each other, and I truly respect what you've done. And, as a sports psychologist, having worked for 33 years now, I've been around so many athletes at so many different levels. And when I hear a story like yours about somebody who's hit bottom, but has and let's face it, Willie, being in jail twice, being a Major League Baseball star, a World Series hero, and then falling to the bottom, you picked yourself up and got out of it. And that, to me, says a lot about who you are. But as I've said, I think a lot of that has to do with how you grew up, about the fact that you were picked on. You had a stuttering problem, which you have beaten. You still stutter, but you've beaten the problem. You were fat. You overcame that. You learned to work hard. You learned about commitment and dedication, and you realized, I've got to put everything into this if I want to get it. And then you got into something in drugs and cocaine, obviously the drug of choice basically for you, that you realized it took a while to get out of that. Now you're seeing what it did. So you are helping so many people with the message you're sharing. And hopefully people are listening today who can share this. Once again, our show is on 810WHBTV.com. You can watch it. And I would encourage you to replay this show. If you're a coach, have your team listen to this show. Watch it. Get Willie's book at www.willieaikens24.com. The message, Willie, that you want to share with young people today is what? About yourself. What did you learn about Willie Aikens, about self-confidence, about overcoming fear, about self-doubt? What did you learn about those things that have made you a better person today?
Well, first of all, it doesn't make any difference how a person grow up. You know, I grew up without a father. I've never met my father before. But I got involved in something that I liked, which was sports. And I was always pretty good in school, my books. I think the most important thing is that, it doesn't make any difference if you fail in life. The failure part could be a positive. You have to take advantage of the situation or the opportunity that you're in. When I was incarcerated for 14 years, I took advantage of that situation. I gained a spiritual life also. I was able to overcome my problems because I wanted to. A lot of people that are on drugs and alcohol, they don't want to stop doing it.
Let me interject something here. During that process, do you think one of the things you did was you looked in the mirror and didn't like what you saw?
I tell you what, Michael Jackson's song about looking in the mirror and facing your own self is a perfect example of what a person really have to do. I mean, you have to come to grips with your life, first of all, before you can help, anybody else. And for me to be able to overcome what I've done, I become a servant to other people. I don't look at Willie Aikens now as the Major League Baseball player. I look at Willie Aikens as a person that had gone through his struggles and have overcome those struggles, and as a person that can go out now and be a servant to other people and help other people overcome those same problems. And for me, it is a reality now because I am getting a chance to see that, and I'm getting feedback from other people that my life is making a difference with other people. And I tell you what, that's more of a thrill to me right now than getting up to the bat and hitting a home run in the World Series.
And you just told me a little bit ago how much that felt, how great that felt, how much that made you feel wonderful. But yeah, I mean, as a sports psychologist working with people, when I see somebody, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I love it when they make a bunch of shots or score a low score or win a game. But more importantly to me, it's that they're happy and that they've overcome something, whether it's a fear, whether it's an anxiety, whether it's a stressor, that they've learned to deal with that and cope with that. And I think that's what I'm hearing from you, is that you have learned now your role now is to help people, which is obviously what I do for a living, but that's what you're doing too. I mean, you may help guys with their stance and their hands and their footwork and their follow through, but what you're really helping people with is their life. And I think that's the thing that's so great about this, is that you have accomplished something and you're helping people out with things now. And yeah, you're a World Series hero. That will always be part of your legacy. But you will always be known as a great baseball player in the 1980 World Series. But more importantly, it's what you're doing now. What's the biggest message you think you're teaching kids today?
Well, for the baseball players, that, hey, you're a baseball player, your career as a baseball player is only for a limited period of time. You might be a baseball player for 5 or 10 years, but look, you still got 50 years to live in this world. The most important thing for me, I think, is that the Bible says that we are all sinners, Andy, and that we need a Savior. And that we have something inside of us which is called the Holy Spirit. That if we are able to come in contact with the Holy Spirit, that this is something that can help guide us through our everyday life here in this world. I've been able to come in contact with the Holy Spirit, and it's the most wonderful gift that I've ever had to use in my life. And I truly want other people to be able to experience that. And that's what I want to leave this program saying, that having a spiritual life is very important. And that's something I didn't have while I was a professional baseball player. And I didn't gain a spiritual life until I was incarcerated for those 14 years, Andy.
We've got a couple minutes left here, and I think it's wonderful what you're sharing with us. The difference between success and failure, Willie, to you is what?
The difference between success and failure.
Because you've been at the highest pinnacle and you've been down at the bottom. So if we look at the difference between those two things, what is it really about?
I guess we have to come to a middle ground there. And was I a success as a professional baseball player? To a certain point, I was. My baseball career wasn't as long as it should have been. But I think we have to come to a point in our life that we have to put our priorities in order and realize what's most important in our life. And for me, it's my spiritual life and then my family. You know, my family for me wasn't important before. And I think being a good father, being a good brother, being a good sister, whatever, relationship, and being able to love another human being. You know, that was something that I didn't have when I was a kid growing up. I was never told that I love you. And that's one thing that I try to do to my little 3-year-old right now. Every chance I get, I tell her I love her. And, you know, I'm going through something right now with my 3-year-old that I've never gone through before. And it's an incredible experience. And I think when our kids become adults and we look at their lives and see how they are living their lives, and when they make comments about how they were raised and stuff like that, I truly believe that's one of the most enjoyable things that a person can have in this life.
When you address someone who is failing at something, I don't care what they're failing at, they perceive themselves to be failing, what do you tell them? What do you tell them to beat it?
Well, let's just use baseball as an example.
2 minutes left.
The old saying in baseball is that if you fail 7% of the time, that you become a superstar.
Well, that's what George Brett did.
Exactly. And, you know, and this is something that I deal with the young players of the Kansas City Royals, is that they come out of college and high school and have had so much great success as a baseball player, but then they become a pro, and they are facing guys now that are just as good as they are.
And you and I have both talked about how when I work with the team with so many of these young players, that's what we had to deal with. I talk with them about that a lot too. So the message is what? To sum it up, what would it be?
The message is this, that in order to become great, you have to fail.
90.
You have to go through trials and tribulation. And I think my life is a perfect example of that, even though I went through prison for 14 years. But if you want to have success in this life and if you want to become great, I think you have to fail.
I'm sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs. My guest this morning has been Willie Aikens. I cannot thank you enough for coming in here and sharing your story with us this morning. Great messages for people. And once again, your book, Safe at
1 minute.
You can get it at www.willieaikens24.com. If you want to get a good book, give it to someone to read and learn, get this book. It's great. Willie, thank you, my friend, so much for coming in here today. You're a good man, good friend. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. I enjoyed it, brother.
I'm sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs here every Sunday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. If you want to get a hold of me, you can reach me at my website, which is winnersunlimited.com. Give me a call at my office, which is 816-561-5556. You can follow me now on Twitter at DRJ Sports Psych, DRJ SPRT PSYCH. Willie Aikens has been my guest this morning. Great interview, and you can watch this on 810WHBTV.com. Watch the replay of it or check out the podcast of the show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I am sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs. Have a great week. Talk to you next Sunday here at Leader in Sports, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Hear that? That's the sound of steaks on a grill. But this isn't just any steak. It's the most delicious filet mignon you'll ever put on your grill. Not from the supermarket, not even from the butcher. It's from bestfiletmignon.com. You see, the folks at Best Filet Mignon searched all over the United States for small family farms raising only the finest Angus beef from the highest quality cattle. The result, the most tender, succulent, flavorful steak you'll ever taste. That's why they call themselves Best Filet Mignon. Go to bestfiletmignon.com and order now. Choose between USDA Prime, Choice, or Select. Your steak is cut, vacuum sealed, and shipped fresh. Not frozen like Omaha steaks. They even throw in the free shipping. Then grill them up and, well, you'll know what to do after that. Just promise you won't use any steak sauce, and trust me, for the best steak you'll ever taste, guaranteed, go to bestfiletmignon.com. That's bestfiletmignon.com and put in the coupon code Jacobs.